For nearly 3,000 years, we've told the story of Odysseus. We know him as history's ultimate clever hero, a tactical genius whose name became the universal shorthand for the long, dangerous road home. But look at this reconstruction of an ancient Greek trireme. This is the scale of the operation Odysseus was actually running. When he left the beaches of Troy, he wasn't alone. He commanded a fleet of 12 battle-hardened warships, crewed by roughly 700 veteran soldiers. This performance dashboard tracks the objective outcome of that 10-year timeline. Personnel retention crashes from 100% to a fraction of a percent. 0 ships returned to Ithaca. 0 crew members survived. The only person to walk away was the CEO. If we strip away the mythological plot armor, we are left with a massive organizational failure. We're going to audit the Odyssey step by step and examine how executive negligence and toxic leadership sent 700 men to the bottom of the sea. The chain of command began breaking down almost immediately. Barely 4 days into the return trip, Odysseus lands at Ismarus. His men sack the city, but then refuse his orders to leave, choosing to drink on the beach instead. By the time Allied reinforcements attack the next morning, 72 veterans are dead. The commander failed to enforce basic troop discipline. Then comes a high-risk operational detour. The fleet reaches the island of the Cyclops. His officers advise him to take the available provisions and leave immediately. Odysseus refuses. He wants to meet the giant who lives there to see what executive gifts he might be offered. The cost of that curiosity is paid entirely by the staff. The giant traps them in a cave and eats 6 specialized personnel. They die because their leader prioritized a personal meeting over the physical safety of his unit. As you can see in this classical bust, Odysseus is easily identified by the conical cap he wears, a symbol of his specific executive status, and he makes sure everyone knows it. As they finally escape the island, he stands on the deck and shouts his real name and address to the blinded Cyclops. He effectively doxed his entire organization to the son of the sea god. From that moment, the ocean itself turns hostile. The systemic destruction of the fleet starts right here, with a leader who valued his personal branding over the operational security of his men. This ancient pottery scene illustrates exactly how risk was divided in this organization. Notice the structure: the rowers at the bottom, ears plugged with wax, doing the grueling physical labor in complete silence. Above them sits Odysseus, tied to the mast, safely indulging in the irresistible, maddening song of the sirens. But the most lethal instance of deceptive management happens at the passage between the whirlpool Charybdis and the 6-headed monster Scylla. An allied goddess had explicitly warned the commander that passing Scylla required a mandatory sacrifice. 6 men would die. We look at this weathered marble head of a young Greek, and we have to think about the men in the lower decks. Odysseus knows 6 of them are about to be eaten. He decides not to tell them. He later admits he withheld this intelligence because he knew if they saw the threat coming, they would drop their oars, abandon their posts, and halt production. He watched the monster pull 6 of his employees screaming into the air. He traded those lives to secure his own passage forward. There was no consent and no transparency, just a cold executive calculation. The remaining survivors finally reach the island of Thrinacia. They are immediately pinned down by an unyielding storm, a direct environmental consequence of their leader provoking the sea god back at the Cyclops' cave. They wait out the storm for 30 days. The ship's food runs out. The men are starving. They are explicitly forbidden from touching the island's sacred cattle, but after a month of watching their bodies waste away, the exhausted staff breaks the core safety protocol just to survive the week. Conveniently, the commander is missing when this happens. Odysseus claims he went inland to pray and happened to fall asleep at the exact moment the final protocol breach occurred, removing himself from all direct liability. The retribution from the gods is absolute. A single lightning bolt strikes the ship once they set sail, vaporizing the remains of the fleet and drowning every man in the water. The only person who survives is the executive who happened to be sleeping. History calls the crew reckless for eating the cattle. But that decision was the inevitable endpoint for a group of workers whose leader had drained their physical resources, squandered their trust, and left them with no other options. When we stare into the blind eyes of this Homeric best, we have to remember how this history was recorded. Every detail of the Odyssey is an unverified testimony given by a single source. Odysseus had every incentive to blame the 700 dead men for their own demise. The very first lines of the poem insist the men were destroyed by their own recklessness. It is a classic corporate deflection. The executive shifts the blame entirely onto the frontline workers, who are no longer around to defend themselves. Odysseus returns home alone and completely controls the flow of information. He crafts a narrative where his own catastrophic errors are rewritten as tragic twists of fate, ensuring his legacy as a brilliant tactician rather than a commander who failed his unit. Look at these broken shards. They represent the true cost of this mission. The Odyssey survives as an intricate, carefully constructed alibi, written by a leader whose return home was purchased entirely with the lives of his men.